Welcome to GLB2's guide on how to make this particular team, the BMS Goats. They were 30-0 in this season. Would not be so in a different season. There are a lot of ways to beat this team, but I just wanted to go into currently how this team works. It is a rookie-only team. It gets reset after the season, which is kind of made for fun and to push the limits of what a rookie team can do. The defense performed really well. The offense mostly performed well, was shut down by a few defenses, but for the most part did its job. So the basic mechanics and the assumptions that we make are, one, that passing is a lot easier and stronger in rookie than it is in a later tier like vet, and two, that the pass rush is a lot stronger in the early tiers as well. So if we look at the Hall of Fame, for rookie all time, there is one running back, and everything else is passing related. Passing, all the way up until here. Every single other player in the top 47 is a passing player. If we look at the leaderboards for the past 4 seasons in vet, they are primarily running backs, a few passers, primarily running backs, primarily running backs, primarily running backs, a few passers. Compare that to rookie, where it's primarily passers with some running backs. Primarily, except for this season, primarily passers, still more balanced than it is a vet. More passers than a vet. Definitely more passers than a vet, at least in this season. So whereas vet never has any quarterbacks, receivers, or tight ends in the top 3, ever. The opposite is true for rookie. Usually, there's a lot of them. So, you can even go back one more season. Oh. Okay, so, general assumption is pass defenses are not finalized yet, whereas the catch and traffic mechanic is very strong in rookie. So even good coverage will not prevent catches from being made. Zone defense especially doesn't really do very much in rookie. It requires too much to succeed to beat the pass. And generally, the rookie meta is to run man defense. So if I had to sum it up, I would say man blitzes, like zero edge blitz or middle overload or tigers or 5-2 blitzes, are the defensive meta in rookie. And I would say that there are a couple of different offenses you can run. You can run up the middle, but generally most teams will either do some kind of outside run spam, especially with quarterbacks, or they'll just spam passes to the tight end. So we built a team to counter that and do both. So the way that we counter the blitz is all of our linemen are purely devoted to passing, really high pass blocking, pretty minimal run blocking, and very high consistency. Since third downs, we do actually run, and block consistency works for your run block tech and power on third down. And since we don't want to get sacked, we often only run on third downs. So this covers both of our passing and our rushing stats on third downs. And because receivers often drop passes, you find yourself in a lot of third downs in rookie. And so this is actually an extremely important stat. Other than that, we don't care much about Condi because we're not really trying to do outside runs. Mostly we're just trying to hold off the pass rush long enough for us to get some good passes. And we have a pretty decent offensive line performance. Other than that, every single pass that we make comes out of a 2 tight end formation. Because of the fact that teams usually blitz outside linebackers, having tight ends bump them off of the blitz buys us an extra second, and that is usually enough for us to complete a pass without getting sacked. Furthermore, 2 tight end passes are generally harder to cover because you have the mismatches with the linebackers and the safeties. Our running backs, our speed backs, their job is primarily to get to the outside on third downs and convert long yardage. when otherwise we would risk a sack and a pass, or an incomplete, like just a minor gain running up the middle. So they are exclusively outside run threats. You can ignore some of these builds are a little, they're too strong because these are sophomore players now and these points are spent. So if you take this back a few points, it's what it would look like. But yeah, that's basically how the offense works. The receivers are all built in a similar mold. They have very high catch and traffic, very high receiving hands, very high heart if you combine this with the high salaries. Some sprinting, it actually would be good. If you wanted to pass more in third downs, you would go for more, or if you knew specifically you were getting blitzed. But generally, for the most part, it's most important just to catch the pass. So I personally combined a lot of catch and traffic and hands with a quarterback who has very high tech to ensure that passes are completed at a very high rate. And because we're doing a rookie-only team, we could afford to build the quarterback a depth natural superstar, so we get a gold essay from the beginning. Having thread the needle makes catch and traffic work more, pairs well with the tech. Basically, you catch a higher percentage of passes than anybody else. So he had a very good quarterback rating, threw for a lot of yards. And generally, when you want to convert short yardage because you don't have a strong run game, you generally just do QB sneaks. And it works pretty well. 1.7 yards per carry, it's really all you need. So that's the offense. Works most of the time against the blitz. Generally, the idea of the offense is you actually want to go for deep passes, specifically from formations where the other team is worried that you will run outside. So if you go from big eye, a lot of teams will call something like DN flats, or a very conservative defense because they don't want you to get pitches to the outside. So when that happens, you can just call very deep passes, and then it doesn't matter how many people are covering, because you have so much catch and traffic and tech. You have all the time in the world. Your tight end makes it downfield, you throw it up, they catch it like half the time. 30-yard game. And if teams try to blitz you, there's a lot of other plays you can call to get the ball out quicker or that utilize mismatches. So defensively, it's basically a defense made to shut down our own offense and vice versa. So if you go to all these builds are the same. A generic defensive player on this team will have Adept Superstar again because specifically you want Gold Tunnel. Gold Tunnel is a huge upgrade from Silver Tunnel and kind of justifies taking the ability at all. You can ignore the extra essay because they are a sophomore. But generally you would take this and Showboat because a single point in Showboat is really strong. We went very high power over tech because on every single play we are blitzing 6, and since we know we will get to the quarterback eventually, we are less concerned with reliably winning pass rush interactions and more concerned with winning them quickly, so we turn them into actual sacks. So this, we want rev cakes over consistency, and this also powers this and then gives speed and also gives its own increased rolls, so that's why this is prioritized over this. The rest of it, we have like decent stats in speed, but we don't need a whole lot because this makes you pretty fast. All of this intim was added when they hit sophomore, so you can ignore pretty much everything from like, I think it was 37 to 67. We don't need a whole lot of heart or toughness because every time you rev kick someone, you get a big morale boost. We don't need a lot of intim because you destroy their morale when you knock them down. And we don't want the QB to throw the ball, we want sacks. So we take some amount of break run block, but for the most part, the fact that we are rev kicking them on pretty much every play ensures that the offensive line has no morale, and we have very high morale. Therefore, we don't need a lot of running because even when they run the ball, the defensive line should win their interaction. So basically the point of a D lineman is to consistently knock down the O lineman and convert pressure into sacks on a somewhat random basis based on whenever they get a rev kick. And that's what the entire D line is for. I actually built these guys wrong. DNs, usually when you run a 5-2 with tunnel, they actually often don't even engage in a blocker at all. So these two should have been built a lot faster. They are built faster in the DNs, but not fast enough. And we could probably have lowered this and this quite a lot and increased the speed and the quickness and the combi. So that's how the D line's built. Everything else functions off of that. So because we are running 6 blitzers on every play, and you could do this defense with a variety of pass pressures. The main points are that it should be 0 coverage. You should have just one-on-ones with every single player, and then you should be rushing. You should be blitzing at least 6. More puts you at risk of stuff like screens because you'll take a man off of the running back. So generally 6 is the perfect number, which leaves each other player in a one-on-one. And so the most important player is the one covering the tight end, because usually that's the one that most teams will try to pass to. So we made them also a superstar, also with adept. And because they're in a 1v1, they have on an island. You can ignore this. We gave them a lot of awareness. It wasn't actually this high because they're sophomores, so it's more like here. Deflection is high. They don't really have to do much because when you're in a 5-2 specifically, you are playing over the top and you'll give up the short passes to the tight end. But anytime the tight end gets to you and makes a break, usually the pressure's already gotten there, so you actually don't need a ton of mobility. You just need to kind of be up in the tight end and make sure he doesn't catch the ball. So this combined on an island does that. We didn't take a lot of heart because once again, we used the high contracts. One of the benefits of a rookie-only team is that high contracts are a much better salary cap value than superstars or traits that are more expensive. So whenever you can, your most important players, you should probably look for high contracts. So that's the defense basically. Since we are always blitzing one linebacker, we have dedicated blitzers. We ran 2 of them on this team because we wanted to use the most out of the conditioning. This number is much lower, obviously, because they're sophomores. There's a lot of different essays you could take. You can go tunnel vision, you can go first step. We went sure-footed because we wanted the linebackers to do a variety of different things. Sometimes it's like a screen play or an outside run, and you would like them to have some defenses against some of that. And sometimes you blitz the other linebacker instead, and the outside linebacker will actually cover the running back. And when you do that, you also want them to have a more balanced essay. I think this build could be served by taking more footwork, perhaps, and reducing some of the other stuff. But for the most part, this is the way I built it. It can probably be done better. Mostly their job is to be quick to the quarterback. You could even build this guy as a trash talker if you're blitzing on every single play. There's some debate over how useful that is, but I think that is a viable way to play. And then the corners and the other free safeties are built all the same on an island, but not as much investment because they're not supers, but their job is just to knock down passes. For the most part, your run defense comes from the fact that your line is very dominant and you always have players in the correct positions. And because you have a linebacker on the running back, they shadow them everywhere, and you have a special dedicated linebacker to tackle that guy. Wait, this one? Yeah. Wait. Now I'm confused. This one? Yeah, this one. Okay. With high tackling tech and high pursuit, less speed, less snap reaction. Sometimes this guy blitzes from the other side, but for the most part, it's his job to cover the running back and make sure, because you have a one-on-one on the offensive line, every lineman occupies another lineman. Unless they run with a fullback, for the most part, you are able to match the running back no matter where he goes because you're just as fast and you have high pursuit. And that's how the team's built. We don't really care about the kicker and punter. Sorry for everyone who plays kicker and punter. That's how the team works. And there's a few things that would counter this. Specifically, outside runs do pretty well. Screens do pretty well. Logzilla also ran a very similar defensive concept of running the 5-2 over Mike and under Sam on every single play, which is the same plays that we run. And if you call a halfback screen, even though we don't have any run blocking, sometimes blitzing too many leaves the outside open, and with the wrong personnel, because obviously this is, well, not obviously, this is a CPU team, they're using pure CPU players. So with the wrong personnel, this is just free touchdowns. You just use that every play, so on and so forth. There are weaknesses. Different kinds of outside runs will work as well. And like I said, running up the middle with a fullback will work. And then probably very fast receivers might also work. But for the current meta, which is teams, specifically these two teams are the other two best teams in tier, and they pass on basically every single play. And if you know they're going to pass, then, for example, running a heavy pass rush, even if they know it's coming, results in a lot of sacks. And that just gives you sack fumbles, and it's kind of an oppressive way to play. So I wanted to share this video because I think maybe some of these concepts working so well illustrates problems in the game, specifically in the rookie tiers, because it's so different in vet. And if you look at, for example, the rev kick to pancake rate, yes, this is a rookie-only team that took stuff that would never work on another team. But if you look at the rev kicks, it's like a bit too much, considering how many sacks they get. In general, having this many sacks, these rev kicks are a little lower because they don't always engage with a blocker, but it is, it feels cheesy, actually. It feels cheesy. The offense feels cheesy as well. The fact that you can complete such a high percentage of passes, catches almost everything. Feels like there are some mechanics that are imbalanced in rookie, and for a lot of new players who don't know how the mechanics of this game in particular work, and who try to build a team the way they would build one in real life, say they want to run up the middle a lot, or pass their receivers more than their tight ends, or they want a dual threat quarterback or something like that. Teams that don't know better, like this new team, for example, this is a new owner. Teams that are not aware of the meta will experience losses that are so demoralizing that they probably don't want to play. So I just wanted to share the secrets of this team so that everyone has access to this knowledge, and or if something needs to be changed, then we know where to start. So thanks for watching, everyone.